Welcome, everybody. This is the April 28th, 2022 Inspiring Author Conversations. I'm Kathy Davis, Davis Creative Publishing Partners. Today, we'll be speaking with Jennifer Bardot about promoting your book beyond the launch. Before we welcome Jennifer, I just want to remind everybody of a few logistics. The call is being recorded. You'll receive a link to the YouTube video within about 48 hours, at least by Monday after the call. Your attendance at these meetings serves as your permission to be seen in the recordings. Please find your chat button at the bottom of your screen. Type any of your questions into the chat, and Jennifer, I'll watch that for us and kindly interrupt when we get questions. Please remember to mute yourself, and that's in your participants log over there on the right of your screen. We promise to end the call around noon or shortly thereafter so we can all get back to the business of the day. Our theme for 2022 continues to be inspiring authors. So each month we welcome guests who are either an inspiring author or someone who helps to inspire authors by sharing their knowledge and expertise. And today, Jennifer happens to be both. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kathy, for letting me have the stage and inviting me to share. I am not an expert by any means, but I hope that I can leave you with some takeaway that'll be beneficial for you spending time with us today.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. And Kathy, it's been officially a year since we launched Owning Your Grit. So that's kind of exciting. So,
well,
okay.
So I was just going to quickly tell everybody a little bit about your background. You and I officially met originally when you were at Enterprise Bank.
Yep.
And you helped me with a lot of that stuff at Enterprise, but you're also the compiler and co-author of Grit, which, if you can see me, is up here to my right. And it was a compilation of 40 authors. I'm trying to remember exactly 40, I think.
Yep.
Authors were in that book. And it was a #1 international bestseller. So that was a fun ride with that one. Jennifer is also named to the top 100 people to know in your business in St. Louis Small Business Monthly. You were the former senior vice president of business banking at Enterprise Bank and Trust. And now in your new job, you're a director producer for middle market employee benefits at Willis Towers Watson. And that's in Clayton, isn't it? Yeah. She's over 20 years of experience working in small businesses in St. Louis community in sales, marketing, finance, and recruiting. Her BA is in business admin, and she has 2 master's degrees. You were talking about that earlier. Secondary education, counseling, and private practice therapy, both of which will help you very much as a mother of 3 little boys.
3. Yeah.
3 little boys, yeah, all under the age of 10. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, you're having fun, I can tell. Yeah. So welcome, Jennifer. I'm going to let you kind of show us your presentation. I'll be here with questions. And if anybody else has questions, please drop them in to the chat and I'll make sure we get them answered.
Terrific. And thank you again for having me here. And I want to make this as interactive as possible. So please feel free to unmute, ask me questions. And if I know the answers, I'm happy to share. But like I said, I'm not an expert. This was my first book that I've ever launched with actually the help of Raylene, who's on the call. She overlooked my chapter before publishing. And then if it wasn't for Davis Creative and all of the support that Kathy and Jack and their team provided, it wouldn't be as successful as it was. So it ended up being a US bestseller. It was an international bestseller in 8 countries. And it ended up getting picked up by not only Kindle and Amazon, where we started promoting it, but also Target and Walmart in Barnes & Noble, which is pretty incredible. So, and most of the women who are in this book, they were first-time authors too. So it was very much a grassroots effort. But I did use my business and my marketing background to make sure that I continued to promote it throughout the year. So like I said, it just hit the 1-year mark. So let's see here. Okay.
Well, go for it.
Okay. So some of the key takeaways that I just want to make sure that we kind of overview is making sure that as an author, you actually put time into building out your marketing plan, because that is where all the strategy and your strategic mindset is going to help continue to make this book a success beyond the launch. And then you need to figure out, how are you planning on keeping your momentum? Are you going to need someone to hold you accountable? Are you going to invite if there's other authors in your book, are you going to invite them to help with the momentum in regards to getting together after the launch for calls or celebration ideas or happy hours, or putting together a marketing strategy where one person is sharing an excellent testimonial one month, and then the next month that looks different for a different author to keep the momentum. And then we're going to talk about, different strategies to make sure you're understanding on how to make your book marketable. How is your audience going to purchase your book? What does that selling look like? And then we need to find other ways to continue to build opportunities beyond the book launch and find value in your community to use your book as a resource, depending upon what the content looks like. So obviously, one of my first questions that I ask everybody is, are you on social media? This is an excellent platform for you to really speak to your audience, expand your audience, and make sure you have that visibility. So I posted this picture because of my engagement with supporting as a mentor on a pitch committee for I-10 Lindenwood. They seen all the traction of the post on LinkedIn and my post on Facebook, and they invited 4 of the authors to come and speak to their business department. So we ended up having an entire morning with their dean of business, and she interviewed us on certain questions. So that opportunity would have never presented itself if we weren't communicating with our networks what the feedback has been with those who've read our book and shared our book. So make sure, if you're not already, you're on some of these sites. So like Instagram, Facebook, and then obviously everybody's familiar with professional platform, which is LinkedIn. And then Twitter is a great platform too. These at the end, I actually found those because I found out that my book was on these sites. I had never heard of them before I launched a book. So do some research if you have already launched a book, or you're in the process of launching a book, to check out where some great social media platforms are for you to showcase what you're doing and what you've been doing. So how are you going to keep your momentum? So obviously, the book launch has faded. You're a couple months out. Are you communicating with your audience what has happened from your launch date, 6 months from then? So I can remember this moment very vividly in my head. So this is about 6 months after my launch date. One of my friends said, "Hey, Jen, do you have a link so I can buy, your book online?" So I've literally, it's my boy's first day of school. So we're going to drive to get ice cream. I Google in my phone a link so I can send him a link to the Amazon purchase. And I find out in that moment that it had been picked up by Target. And that was just like, whoa. So I made sure that I communicated that with my audience, because that was not only like a huge victory for all of the women in that book, but that's really cool for those that invested their money and their finances and their time to read the book, to see that, hey, this is really cool. But so I feel like that's important for you to help with the communication beyond the launch. And that happened again with Walmart. And that's why I put this post up here. I don't know if the date's in there, but it was probably about, I think it was right before Christmas. So maybe about 7 or 8 months after the book had already launched. So when you have someone reach out to you with an incredible testimonial, screenshot that, ask for their permission to share, and post that within your network. I think that's a great way to continue to feel that energy and share with your network. So some other ideas that I hope I can share with you to keep that momentum is different ways that you can repurpose your book. So like in my book, there was one of the authors that decided that she was going to make her chapter an Audible. So she actually recorded herself as an Audible and uploaded that within her business, in her platform. So there's several different ways that you can repurpose your book. So I've listed a couple out here. You can build a course, you can start a podcast, you can share videos, you can even start a blog or have some sort of e-learning ability. So just try to figure out what makes sense for you and then share that and continue the energy and the excitement. So I kind of hinted at this at the last page, but the testimonials are really key, because I feel like when the reviews aren't coming from the contributors of the book or the author or the publisher, it makes a larger impact, and it actually shows the impact that it makes. So one of the contributors in my book, her name's Shonda Ambers Phillips, and she's incredible. And she invited me to present with her at a conference that was held at the Lake of the Ozarks. And this was the feedback that we received after presenting to these incredible female leaders. And I just felt like because I shared this post, another door opened. I ended up getting an invitation for our book to be featured at a professional women's summit in Kentucky with kind of the same concept. It was all female educational leaders. So when you communicate what's going on, that energy continues, and it kind of almost erupts beyond your network, because everybody, you don't know who everybody's connected to and who's seeing these different posts and who's liking and sharing. So if you can, or if you haven't already, make sure you're recording the testimonials. You can do that in a video, you can do that in an audible, you can do that in a post or a screenshot, and capture their experiences when they've read your book and hear what it's like in their eyes, and share that viewpoint as long as they're okay with that too. Got to ask for their permission. But sharing the people's experiences from reading your book, I feel like, is extremely impactful. And then you can see the impact it's truly made in their lives. So take pictures, share screenshots, and share experiences.
Jennifer,
And then,
I was just going to sneak in real quick.
Sure.
One of the great things about when you have an anthology is you automatically have this tribe, and there were 40 women in this particular book. So you have the power of 40 women out there talking about this book. And even if you have an individual book, you can still, your tribe are your people that's on your social media. Those are the people that, you know, they're typically your family, your friends, your very close colleagues, people that you do want to see your personal page, and that becomes your tribe. So, you know, ask them to do the same. Please share this out, and you'll be amazed at the ripple effect that it causes.
100%. I was hosting Thought Partners yesterday, and we had Rhonda Gray, who is the Vice President, Strategic Officer for Rung for Women in St. Louis. And one of her key points was collaboration. And you know, as a solo business owner or a solo publisher, author, you know, sometimes we only get in our bubble, but as soon as we collaborate, that's where the magic happens, because your network, expands exponentially. So find ways to collaborate. Maybe you do a book launch and you invite another person who is a solo, book author as well. And you do those together because, their audience might be receptive to purchasing your book and vice versa. So I feel like finding ways to collaborate is really critical for just expanding beyond your reach. And then obviously what I hinted at the very beginning, it's really important when you have a book that you treat it like a business. So, this is something Kathy Davis taught me from the very beginning. She said, do you have an author page? I said, no, I don't have a website. I don't have an author page. How do I do this? And Facebook makes it really simple and easy. And a lot of the times it's free unless you want to boost and pay for the, social media ads and the social marketing or with SEO marketing. So if you don't have an author page already, I highly recommend for you to reach out to either, a local person that can help build out, a website, or if you don't want to go that big, go on Facebook and build out a page within Facebook. Or if you don't want to go through social media, a lot of people aren't really fond of Facebook. You can actually go on LinkedIn and you can build out a page on there as a company. So it helps expose your brand, helps give you a visibility, and it helps share the message and the content about what your book's about and who is also involved in purchasing your book or is a supporter of your book. So definitely find a way to promote, and technology makes it super easy. And then for me, the speaking engagements is kind of how I continue that momentum. So this is a speaking engagement I was actually invited to because of Kathy, my affiliation with Professional Women's Alliance. She made a plug for me, said, hey, have you heard of Jen's book? This has 40 incredible women. These are authentic stories. The Professional Women Alliance executive director actually connected me with the head of Incarnated Word, and I was invited to speak. And then I shared that opportunity with several of my friends who are also, sole contributors, Justine Folker, for instance, and Amy Lemire. I invited them to be a part of this experience, and by collaborating, it just made the energy more fun. So this was an event where I was asked to speak, and what I would recommend is look within your network, see what associations you belong to, what schools you participate, on the fundraising committee, or you're donating your time, if it's a church, if it's a chamber, and see if there's an opportunity for you to speak. Because usually there are, especially if they want something interesting, and someone's interested in putting the time and efforts into putting together a panel or a speaking engagement. And then once again, if you do secure the speaking engagement, see if there's an opportunity for you to collaborate with peers or supporters or, centers of influence that, would be thrilled to participate. So obviously for me, volunteering is part of who I am and my makeup. So a lot of the speaking opportunities came from the places that I serve, either as a mentor or I volunteer my time. So just look within your network and see where you spend most of your time volunteering, or like I said, in different capacities. And you'll be excited to see what comes of that. I was invited to actually speak at the Professional Women's Alliance Symposium, and that was just an incredible opportunity. And prior to this book, I had done some speaking engagements for enterprise at the Cortex, but not to the level and the frequency that I did after publishing the book. So, and then obviously this is kind of common sense, but sometimes I feel like we forget because we're so excited about the speaking engagements, or we're so excited about the event that we've put time and energy into. But make sure when you're at those events that you're taking pictures, or you're asking someone to take a picture. Brandy Shear's here. I was so excited about our book launch. I forgot to book a photographer. So guess who stepped up to help take the pictures at my book launch? Brandy. So make sure that you're capturing that moment. And I put this picture because there's a lady named Jenny Pratt, and she's actually going to be in this next series that I'm building out for Deconstructing Grit. And she put together the first ever That's What She Said event. And I donated a bunch of resources to make her event successful. And in return, she bartered and helped me have this visual exposure. So it was one of those kind of give to get, or give and she gave back. I don't know, but find ways to give to folks or events that have the same alignment with the purpose of your book. Because once again, when you collaborate, more exposure, more opportunities will be generated. I didn't know that she was going to gift me this opportunity to be showcased in her event, but she did. So when you do the right things, amazing energy comes back in return. So just make sure when you're doing your events, or you have a really cool testimonial, just take a picture and post it, as long as it's okay to be reshared, and see how many likes and new doors that come out of those opportunities. And I see some in the chat. Kathy, are there questions or?
Oh yeah, I've been answering them. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I couldn't see what they were. So,
and one of the fun things also about these anthologies is that you remind all of your authors to, because they will each order their own books. And when they get that box, you want to have someone take a picture of you opening that box of books. And even if for the individual orders, if someone buys your book from Amazon, ask them to, oh yeah, remember when you get your book, have somebody take a picture of you opening that box. So those are fun to post too.
100%. I remember one of my friends that lives in Illinois, and I don't get to see her very frequently. She actually got the book before me. And I found out because she took a picture and sent it on Facebook and said, it's finally here. So it's exciting, and you can make it fun. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of that bucket challenge where people would nominate other people to fill a bucket full of ice and water and dump it over their head, and they do the videos. You can do that with your book. Just get creative and make it more custom about who you are and what your book's about. So I asked a lot of my friends who would purchase my book to take a picture, because I wanted to see the impact that it made. And I didn't get to put the picture in here, but one of my peers that I worked with at Enterprise, he actually gave it as a gift to a senior who was graduating. It was one of his cousins. So she ended up having it as kind of the autograph book for her graduation date. And he sent pictures of that. And that was so cool, because we could celebrate with her in that moment, but I could also share it with all of the authors that contributed in the book, because it reminded them of what they did and what the purpose and the mission was. So I just think pictures speak 1,000 words. So obviously effective communication is critical to continue that energy and the momentum. So make sure, when you're building out your marketing strategy, you understand who your buyer is. So this was interesting because there's some gentlemen in the picture here, but actually my target audience was really more women, because I had 40 women in the book sharing stories of growth, resilience, intention, and tenacity, and how they overcome these really devastating times of uncertainty. So my target buyer was really women, but at the book launch, I had several men who participated and celebrated with us. So be mindful of who your target audience is, so you can be at the places where they would be buying the book. So this is a picture of a panel that we were invited to at the Missouri Athletic Club, and this is downtown, and this was at their sip and shop, which is primarily women. So how our book was set up is each of the authors were responsible for the sales of their own book. So there was one of my friends, Katrina Kerr. She had just gone through several car accidents and hadn't been able to sell any of her books prior to this event. So her and her daughter secured a table after the speaking engagement and was able to sell several of her books because of the audience and because of the target audience. So be mindful about certain events and make sure, you're showing up at the right places. So it's not a waste of time, and you can, utilize your time. So that's really critical, is making sure that you're showing up at the right places, your buyer and your audience, you're clarifying your message. So this event made it, I guess, I don't know if the word easy is a right word, but it allowed Katrina not to have to talk about what the book was about, because the audience already knew what it was about. So they were coming to her to buy the book. So that right there is powerful. So if you have a speaking engagement, make sure that you have books with you on hand that you can distribute. Kind of common sense, but sometimes we overthink things and we get excited about the event and the preparation, and we forget to bring the books. So make sure you have that.
Yeah. And as I recall on this particular book, I was trying to remember which book it was, and it was Grit. The husbands get involved. The husbands are there, or, your significant other, whoever you're living with, your roommate. And I got an email from one of the husbands about how fun it was for him to watch. At first, his wife was like, I don't know how to write. Who wants to hear what I have to say? And then all at once she got into it, and, there's a writing coach, and pretty soon it was like, I couldn't believe just the transformation from, I can't do it, to I did it. Yay. And they all went out, took the kids and went out and had pizza and celebrated that mom finished her chapter. So it became a family event. That was what I thought was so fun.
100%. And I think as long as you stay grounded in the place of the purpose why you wrote the book, your momentum is going to continue, because that's the fuel that lit the fire and ignited the passion to start the book. So just stay grounded in your purpose of what the book was all about in the very get-go. So I think that's critical. And then obviously share your impact. I think that's the coolest thing. After the event at Incarnate Word, I had so many young girls coming up to me and asking more questions, and you could see that they were excited, and that's so cool. And I think that energy helps you with the momentum to carry on and continue, and make sure you're doing the right communications, the right marketing, sharing the right message, speaking at the right events. And I think that's critical. So thinking strategically is really important when you are trying to continue that momentum, because you don't want to repeat something you've already done. And if there is a takeaway that you learn that, hey, this wasn't the right audience for the message of my book, then you've learned from that, and you can continue to figure out how to build forward. So just remaining grounded on the brand of your book and the purpose of your book, making sure you're constantly communicating that in different capacities, and then being strategic along the way to make sure it seems different and fresh and new. And that's essentially how I've been able to continue the momentum throughout the year. And it was just fun energy, because not only was it myself that was participating in this excitement, but I was always inviting the other authors in these opportunities for speaking engagements, or, like I said, an opportunity to sell the book, or, just finding different ways to market it. Even Lauren Cohen, she's a professional coach and she specializes supporting lawyers. She actually put this on her website and made it available. So there's always different ways that we can learn from each other. So what I would recommend, if you are in an anthology, that you're constantly getting together with these women or these men and these contributors to figure out how you can continue to support each other, because that's essentially how your energy continues through the momentum. I would have never had the opportunity if Shonda didn't ask me to come along, and vice versa. So collaboration, strategic mindset, and making sure you stay grounded with the purpose and the mission of why you wrote the book in the first place. So
Awesome. I love that wisdom. Do you want to speak a little bit to what your new project is that's an offshoot of the first book, Grit?
yeah, so this book was such a tremendous experience, and just watching the women in the book grow and owning who they are and recognizing, that they have strength and courage, and building upon that. I have been approached by several new women to continue that journey. And at first I was like, no, been there, done that. I think our story's been told. I don't know if we should do this again. And I finally said, you know what? Why not? Why not break it down and really simplify what grit is? And I think this was, so my whole purpose and vision of grit was spurred because during the height of COVID, I had 3 young kids at home. I'm supporting a lot of small businesses, a lot of women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses, and I'm seeing their struggles. And a lot of these women are, struggling with loss of life, loss of employees showing up, loss of finances, challenging with schooling these children at home, and then trying to just have some sort of hope and an inspiration for themselves. So my purpose of owning your grit came from this really dark time of COVID, building community and providing women with empowerment and inspiration during this dark period. Because there was a statistic that was published by Forbes, and it said that over 5 million jobs were lost. And guess what? Over that 12-month period, when these 5 million jobs were lost, there were majority women. So that really just kind of ticked me off. And I was like, okay, we got to come together, because we have to show other women that other women are struggling, because a lot of times we don't really put our true selves out there because of fear of judgment or who knows what. So if I can find 40 women who have enough courage to share their stories of hardships to help inspire other women beyond our networks, then my job has been done. And that's essentially where the mission came from. So this is just that, because I was asked to be on a panel called Smart Talks by John Londius, and he said, Jen, will you be on this because of your book? And I said, sure. And I'm doing research again, and I pulled Forbes back up, in February of 2020, they're calling the recession the C-session, because it's women again who are struggling during this time of COVID, because of the impact that it's making with families and job cuts and lack of flexibility. And so once again, I said, I have to continue this fight. I have to empower more women, but we're going to break it down on what grit truly means through growth stories, through resilience stories, through intention stories, and then through obviously tenacity, and then kind of fold that all together so it can be more applicable and people can truly understand what that means. Because grit is literally the new thing. Like, that is what employers are looking for. That is what you need to survive in this really difficult world. Doesn't matter what your EQ, your IQ, or your talent is. If you have grit, you'll get up and go every day. And as a business owner, that is really important. So that is what this new series is going to be. And that's kind of where my inspiration came from. And it's very much similar to the first, that it's going to be all women and diverse in regards to age, ethnicity, where they're born, what they're currently doing. Some are even retired, but their stories are meaningful. So yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there were two there were
I know.
two things that also came out of a study in the past 18 months, that as a planet, and not just US or English speaking countries, the two things that people miss the most are hope and community.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think these collection anthologies like Grit, and now we're working on Growth, provide. People are buying these books because they're looking for hope, and it's a community. They can participate and reach out. Every chapter has contact bio and contact information at the end, and it allows people to reach out. And I hear stories all the time of, total strangers sending an email saying, thank you for your story. It made my day. It helped my perspective. It changed my thinking on, my poor, pitiful story today. So it's
100%.
making an impact.
Yep. And not only for the reader, but for the authors. So I've actually collaborated with 2 books at the same time to have a larger impact in a larger community, because community is important. And it's very difficult right now because we're getting pulled in so many directions with this hybrid and whatever mode and comfortability level. So I've actually pulled together 2 of the books to collaborate together to help with that community. So I have both growth and resilience going at the same time. So for example, right here on this call, so I see Sonia, she's going to be in resilience. I see Ruth, she's going to be in resilience. I see Brandy, she's going to be in growth. And by collaborating 80 women in comparison to 40, think about that impact. We are going to reach so many other women or people that need to have this inspiration and hope. It's going to be amazing. And I'm super excited.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive energy that evolves from these projects. And I know as we start to wrap up here, we will, if you want to reach out to Jennifer, we will have her contact information in the follow-up email that will go out no later than Monday. And does anybody have any questions? I can open it up and unmute everybody. And Kim Carr, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I have a question. And you were talking about, social media. I do that pretty well, I think, but this is my first book that I'm working on with Kathy. But I know there's going to be other books on the road because I'm going to work on a series about my animals here on the farm and stuff. So if I create a Facebook page for the book, do I need to create one for each page, or do I put one like create a page like Hybrid Hollow Farm, and then I would, as my books come out and stuff, use that page to kind of keep building upon, or would I want to build a different page for each book?
So this is my therapist coming out on me. So I would just say, think about what makes sense for you. Is it one platform that houses all your books, or do you really want to showcase these individually? And think about that, because Facebook allows you to do both. And you could even test out and see which one you like more. So I would just say, think about it and figure out, would you like these as individual pieces, or would you like it to be the farm and then it has everything in it as a collection?
And I'll kind of tag on to that. Richard had that question earlier also. What I see most authors do, because it can be cumbersome to go, oh yeah, I got to go post on this page and that page and this page. If you have a single page, it will be simpler. And maybe if you only have 2 books, you could space them out and do different pages. The other thing that I hear authors talk about is that if they do, like you could do Kim Carr, author as your page, or whatever your name is, or we could do the Hybrid Hollow because that's your series, your farm series. Is that by putting other books on one page, you're kind of cross-marketing your books, and authors that may not know about one will know about the second or the third or whatever. But just exactly what Jennifer said is that do what's best for you. And if you've got the time and the space and the tenacity to go out there and have different pages, go for it.
I think it really strengthens your brand also. People hear one-hit wonder songwriters and singers versus saying I'm an expert, and people like experts, and particularly if there's a series, to have it there makes more of a credibility to you as an author. That's why I asked Kathy, I'm going to probably do one page with multiple books. It does position you differently, I think. Now, I have a comment. One of the things a lot of professional speakers are doing with their books, and it's like guerrilla marketing, is if I was in my office in my basement, I have all my bookshelves. I have some of my key colleagues' books facing out, and I've had people say, "Oh, what's their book on your shelf?" And it really guerrilla, right? Exactly.
Mhm.
But the books are actually the front of the book, not the side. It's actually facing the people, much like Kathy's,
Right.
because it really does. And the other thing, I love what you said, Jennifer, about collaborations. I'm going to be launching my book with an event where I'm going to speak for free. I'm having 8 women business owners have tables selling their products. I'm going to speak for free. They pay $60 for the room, so I don't have to pay. And I'm doing my speech, selling my book, but then they get to sell their items. So it's a win-win for everybody. So it's a creative way of getting more people there. I don't have to bring the audience. I'm speaking, which really strengthens my brand. So there are a lot of creative ways. I think you're right on about being creative and how we market.
100%. It's just like a business. I mean, I feel like
Absolutely.
that's how you lose the momentum of your book if you don't think of it like a business, because you have to
Absolutely.
keep that energy around it. And I love that idea of how you've collaborated with others, because everybody's going to benefit. And that's right there is
Absolutely.
what it's all about. So
Well, I'm going to
And
plan.
I'll be at the sip and shop with you this year if you're going to do it in November.
yeah, right. Yes.
I was going to say, Jennifer, I'm going to plant a seed for you to do a grit telesummit.
Ah,
I'm on one this afternoon, but it's a 4-day event. And this one's happens to be out of Canada, and today is publishing. And
Cool.
so, I'm on at 3:30 Central, but that's going across Canada and US all, through Zoom.
yeah.
And you could do that with all the authors and have.
That's a good idea. I
Hey,
participated
Kathy,
in one of those for one of my friends called Devin Graham, and she's a big business woman, and she actually was in Pat Coleman's compilation, this one that you just helped her with. But yeah, I'll have to pick her brain and see how to do that, because that'd be really cool for all the authors to get on board and
Yeah.
share like a little snippet about their chapter and who they are, and just
It's
keep
a lot
that
of
energy.
work.
Yeah,
But yeah, if you know someone that has put them on before, let them do the work and then you show up.
I'm gonna reach
Kathy,
out to
That's what I've
Devin.
learned.
Hey, Kathy, can I put out a pitch real quick?
Sure.
If any of you women have husbands and have sons, I'm looking for father contributors to my book, Father's Gifts to Sons. So if you have a husband who would be interested in writing a 350-word contact summary about their father or the wish for their son's future, to contact me. I'm looking for 50 men, and I have 30 now. I'm looking for 20 additional men that want to be contributors, and they get a copy of the book. So, and there's no
Really cool.
investment on their part. They just have to write it, and I have it edited, and I get it all done for them. They approve it, and then they get copies for each of their sons.
Richard, can you put your email into the chat?
Sure.
Well, and I had lunch with Sonia's on here, but I had lunch with her sister this week, Shannon, and both of them are going to be in the same resilience book and talk about a cool legacy that you get to leave behind for your children. So like that is exactly what you're doing, and I think that's really cool.
That's awesome. Well, it's been great information. Thank you. I have been watching you since Grit published, and I keep saying, watch Jennifer, see what she's doing. That's who you need to follow. And because you're everywhere and the book is everywhere, you've done a fantastic job of pushing it out there and including everybody that's in the book and making sure that they got highlighted too. It's not all about you as the sponsor, even though you're part of that book. It's about the whole concept and that whole brand that you've created. It's awesome.
Thank you. Well, that's who I am to the core. So it made it easy, and advocating for women and others, and I can't think of the word, but allowing everybody to participate, whoever was available. I always made that the whole purpose of the book, and I continue to do that with this next series. So
Joanne?
thank you for seeing me.
Yeah. Joanne, did you have a question?
I was just going to mention how you and I collaborated after our books.
Mhm.
I've been with Kathy 3 times at international bestsellers, and we created magazines, companion magazines to go with it. So the women, well, in our case, it was the women, but I mean, it could be men too, put their chapter in the magazine, and we reached 317,000 plus people. So so if you guys ever want to do a magazine too, Jennifer, I'd love to talk to you about it. We do them, probably twice a year, because they are a lot of work, like you just said about the summit, Kathy. Kathy and I know all this stuff is, but it's still worth it, because together, in one word, is collaboration. I mean, people call me the collaboration queen all the time. So if you want to collaborate, I love to collaborate. And Kathy and I do
love
it
that.
consistently.
Yeah. And
And if
I
people are Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying another really cool success is because of this energy, Kirkwood Lifestyle Magazine reached out to me, and I'm going to be featured in the Mother's Day issue because I made sure that the book was launched this date of April, so it would be accessible for Mother's Day. So like,
Good
I
idea.
think that's really cool. And I would love to be able to figure out how to do that for all of the women to be involved in this magazine. So yes, I'd love to collaborate.
Okay, good. Let's talk later. Yes,
And
thank you.
Joanne, make sure you reach out to Richard also.
Okay,
He's got a question there for you. Richard, did you put your email in here?
Yeah, I did. Didn't I?
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll make sure everybody gets that also. Richard's contact info. I want to thank everybody. It's been a great conversation. I love this. I've got one new message. Let's make sure who this is here. Great.
Hey,
content.
Jennifer, if you
Yay.
want to hear about the speaking industry, let me know. I'll certainly be willing to help you with that if you want to get into the circuit.
Richard has mentored me and taken me under his wing for NSA. So I'll send you information about NSA. And if anybody else wants information, just let me know. Richard or I can make sure you get that info. Thank you guys for being here. The recording will be out, and
Bye,
the
everyone.
follow-up email will come out on Monday with contact info. Thank you, Jennifer, so much for being here.
Of course.
Thank you.
Guys,
Thank
thank you.
you.
for your
Bye now.
time.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Bye-bye.